Okay, picture this. You're on one of the most remote islands on Earth, and everywhere you look, there are these colossal stone faces staring out into the distance. They're the Moai of Easter Island, and they're guarding this incredible secret, not just about how they were built, but why one day the building just stopped. And that is the big question, right? I mean, just imagine a project that defines your entire culture for centuries, involves thousands of people, and then suddenly tools are dropped and everyone just walks away. What could possibly cause that? That's what we're going to dig into. So first, let's just set the scene. We're on Rapa Nui. You probably know it as Easter Island. It's this tiny, tiny speck of land in the middle of the vast Pacific Ocean. And everywhere you look, you see them. Silent, imposing figures that have baffled explorers and archaeologists for generations. Okay, so what exactly are these giants? Well, they're called Moai. And you gotta understand, these weren't just decorative statues. To the Rapa Nui people, these were the living faces of their ancestors turned into gods. They were protectors, guardians, who watched over their villages, their people, and their land with a real spiritual power. This whole Moai building era, it went on for a long time, starting around 1250 CE. For 2.5 centuries, this was the absolute central focus of their society. But then, bam! Around the year 1500, it all just comes to a grinding halt. I'm not talking about a slow fade out. We're talking about a full-on set and stop. So to really get why they stopped, you first have to wrap your head around the sheer scale of what they were doing. This wasn't just a side project. This was a society-wide obsession, an incredible investment of time, resources, and, faith. And listen, we're not talking about a handful of statues here. Across the island, archaeologists have found over 900 moai. Just let that number sink in for a second. More than 900. And each one was this monumental undertaking. And these things were huge. Your average moai weighs around 14 tons. To put that in perspective, that's like 2 big African elephants. And some were even bigger. And get this, they carved them from solid volcanic rock using only stone tools. And they kept this up for 250 years. That's something like 10 generations of people dedicating their lives to quarrying, carving, and moving their stone ancestors across the island. It was literally the work of an entire civilization. Which, of course, brings us to one of the biggest puzzles of all. How on earth did they move them? We're talking about hauling 14-ton monuments for miles across rugged, hilly land, with no wheels, no cranes, no big animals to pull them. How? I mean, just think about the engineering challenge here. They had no wheels, no draft animals, just human power, rope, and an absolutely incredible amount of social organization to get everyone working together. It was a true masterpiece of coordination. So, what's the secret? How'd they pull it off? Well, the leading theory, and they've actually tested this, is that they walked them. Teams would use ropes to rock the statue from side to side, and with each tilt, its clever base design allowed it to pivot forward, taking a little step. It was slow for sure, inch by inch, but it worked. Just a brilliant piece of Rapa Nui engineering. Okay, so we've got a handle on what they build and kind of how they move them. But that only makes the big question even more pressing. Why stop? And for that, we need to go to the source, the very birthplace of the Moai. This is Rano Rarakua, the quarry where almost all the Moai were carved. And this place, it's a perfect archaeological time capsule. It's like the entire workforce just dropped their tools, left for lunch one day, and never, ever came back. The clues are all right here, literally frozen in stone. And wow, the evidence here is it's overwhelming. You've got almost 400 statues just sitting in the quarry in different stages of being finished. Some are still attached to the rock, half carved out. The stone tools are just lying on the ground, right where they fell from the workers' hands. So here's the key takeaway. This wasn't some planned shutdown. This was an emergency break pull. So what does all this add up to? All these clues? They don't really point to some outside disaster like an invasion or a plague. No, they point inward to some huge shift inside the Rapa Nui society itself. Turns out the answer might not just be in the stones, but in the land all around. So you can basically see a before and after picture of the society. In the before, during peak construction, they had a surplus of everything, food, wood, people, and they poured all of that into building these monuments. But the after picture, well, that looks totally different. The evidence points to some serious environmental stress, forcing a massive change in priorities. It wasn't about building for the ancestors anymore, it was about simple survival. And this all leads to the leading theory. In their drive to build bigger and better moai to honor their ancestors, the Rapa Nui may have pushed their island's ecosystem right to the breaking point. Widespread deforestation, probably for moving the statues and for farming, led to a scarcity of resources. I mean, it makes sense, right? You can't really focus on building monuments when you can't feed yourselves. And this quote just nails it. The Moai started as symbols of their ambition, but they ended up being markers of their limits. They literally carved their way to a breaking point, and in doing so, left this incredible record of both their greatest achievement and its collapse. So, when you boil it all down, the story of Easter Island isn't just some dusty, ancient mystery. It's actually a super powerful, timeless lesson. It's all about that delicate balance that every single society has to find. That balance between culture, ambition, and the environment that actually makes it all possible. So today, the Moai just stand there, silent watchers. They're this incredible story of achievement, but also this really stark warning written in stone. And it leaves us with one last, pretty big question to ask ourselves. What monuments are we building today? And what warnings might we be ignoring?